This is Janet Swerdlow.
And Stewart A. Swerdlow for expansions.com. See, I let you introduce yourself this time.
I snuck it in first before you could forget me.
Well, no, because
I don't know how you
could
could forget me.
I don't forget you. You know what? There's a lot of things I don't know about you.
Well, that's why it should be. A woman should stay mysterious and keep her man
You're mysterious already. I'm so entertained. I'm rolling on the floor.
Yeah, you look like you're sitting in a chair to me.
Yeah, not for long because I'm not wearing any pants.
That's later on in the story.
Getting a little chilly, if you know what I mean.
That's later on in the story.
I'm gonna talk about that in
are?
a little bit. Yes, I'm gonna talk about that in a little bit. And actually, hopefully, you have a story related to that. That'll be coming.
Well,
up.
I hope you haven't peeked at my stories.
I gave you the stories.
I give you the stories.
Because you always steal my stories. So I'm like, okay, just take. Here it is. I'm giving it to you.
No, you don't take my stories. You sneak at my stories.
I don't sneak it down. I'm not getting tested on it.
Maybe.
Anyway, let me hurry because my butt's getting really chilly. Anyway, first I want to give a couple of updates on previous stories. For example, the earthquakes in the Midwest. And this week there were moderate earthquakes in Kansas. Kansas.
Dorothy must be coming back.
I don't know what Toto's doing over there, and Oklahoma. And so that's going on. And our friend Mr. Snowden has actually asked for an extension of his stay in Russia. We thought he was going to get asylum in Brazil, but apparently that isn't working out, and so he's asking to stay longer in Russia. Maybe
he's responsible for the upcoming polar vortex.
That was my story that I'm talking about.
Uh-oh.
You know what?
What?
Now whatever I say,
yeah.
you deserve it.
Well, he's a den of snow.
Yeah, I'll give you a den of snow. Anyway, let's talk about snow, actually. Because in France, in the lower elevation of the French Alps, guess what? It's snowing in July.
Well, what about the story I showed you in Phoenix?
That was a haboob.
That was hail.
Yeah, but that's hail. It's monsoon season.
But they shouldn't have hail this time of year. It's like 150 there.
Well, hopefully it melted.
Yeah, but the fact is they still had hail in the middle of July.
Well, they're having haboobies too. So, that's... Wait, I have to say, speaking of haboobs and sand, haboob is a sandstorm.
Right.
There was an article on CNN.com about how you can easily remove sand from your body after you go to the beach. It said a common household item, like, is
water?
That called water? Yeah, but no, you know what it was?
What?
Talcum powder. So I already have sand on my body, I'm going to put powder on to take the sand off. It's brilliant. How about just washing it off? You know, I don't know where they get this stuff. Anyway, so there was...
Let me quote you, I don't know where you're reading this stuff.
Yeah, so there was snow in the French Alps, but I want to talk about airplane and strange sky stories. Because there was an object seen streaking across the skies in Australia, which scared people, and people thought it was a plane crashing. And it turns out, according to the news, it was the remains of a Russian booster rocket. So let's look at that. And they said that when these booster rockets, descend into the Earth, they're very carefully monitored. So how come nobody knew it was coming down over Australia?
A lot of weird things happen in the skies over Australia.
Things weird on the ground there too. I mean, those people are weird.
They have issues.
Yeah, trust me. And anyway, so here's the thing. Northern Hemisphere, Russia, goes up, then it comes down a few hours later in the Southern Hemisphere where it was not headed.
And they're saying it's Russian?
Yeah. Of course they never found it, but that's another story. But let's go on to other sky stories. Yes, because a United Airlines 777 took off from Honolulu on its way to Guam. Who goes to Guam? Anyway, it was diverted to Midway Island in the middle of the Pacific, a remote island that was known for a Japanese attack and battle. And the passengers had to lay there, stay in the gymnasium there for 7 hours because there was a smell on the airplane. Okay, let's look at this. It's United Airlines. It smells. Okay, I have not yet been on a United Airlines plane that didn't smell.
A 777?
A 777.
That's a huge plane.
Yes, and it's the same kind of plane that disappeared from Malaysian Airlines and may have also been mysteriously diverted to a remote island in the ocean. So, very strange, don't you think?
Well, maybe you shouldn't fly on any triple.
But here's the brilliance. Here's the brilliance of United Airlines. So these passengers, like almost 300 people, staying in a gymnasium in Midway for 7 hours till another plane picks them up, but instead of taking them to Guam, it takes them back to Honolulu. United Airlines, that's why they're at the bottom of the heap. Why don't they just bring a plane to take them back to where they're supposed to go?
None of that makes sense.
It doesn't make
But
any
the
sense.
interesting thing is, remember Christine Lagarde and how that she was carrying on in that speech that I talked about the magic number 7. So here we are seeing 3 7s. So this has got to have significance.
Yes.
Well, I would be interested to know if you wrote the date down that happened.
Yesterday.
Oh, yesterday.
Now here's another thing. This is about your homeland. So kind of. A Frontier Airlines jet from Denver to Seattle was hit by lightning on its way to Seattle and lost all of its radar and navigational, and then had to land in Salt Lake City. Now, let's go back to that 777 United Airlines, because when the smell came out, the pilot announced to the passengers that they lost a lot of their electrical equipment and their radar. Why do you tell people like that? To horrify, and they said the people were horrified, they were crying, they were praying. Why do you do that? I mean, seriously.
I guess they may be recording people's reactions.
I mean, if you're going to die, let them die calmly, you know.
But maybe they're recording people's reactions.
Well, it's funny that both planes, and Frontier Airlines is, again, not known for their high-quality travel, but there it was. And then 2 planes almost collided in Spain on the runway. A Russian airliner was coming in for a landing, and there's this Star Alliance plane just running across the runway. Oh, here comes another plane, uh-oh. Brilliant. Of course, Star Alliance is controlled by United Airlines.
Seems like there's a theme.
Yeah, United. Don't go with them. I have in the past, and you know they've been nasty, and so are the crew, and so are the, I'm sorry, but it's true, and so are the ground crew. Anyway, I will get back to some other stories in a moment. Very exciting stories, I might add. But
not as exciting as the ones I have.
Because they're about me. Now, let's go talk about the weather. I spoke to you all last week about the derecho storm we had. And last night we had another storm, but luckily there was not damage, although some people lost electricity. But guess what, people? This week, here in the Midwest, we are expecting a polar vortex like we had in the winter.
Are we going to get snow?
Well, I hope not, because it's supposed to be, and I will quote here, it may be July, but that won't stop the polar vortex from returning to Chicago and the Midwest. And it was the same, they call it a meteorological phenomenon, say that a bit fast, which caused us to have that terrible winter we had last season. It says temperatures will be well below normal, and could be record lows for July. What do you think about that, Al? Now, August is predicted to be cold and rainy, and according to AccuWeather, they said this winter will be bad again.
Well, if we're getting into an ice age, it most likely will be bad again.
So who cares? You know, our pool was crushed to death, so it doesn't matter because it's going to be freezing outside. Now, let's go to Yellowstone National Park.
One of your favorite places.
Which I've been reporting on for months now. Well, guess what? Yellowstone National Park has a hot spot that melted asphalt roads and closed access to the geysers and other attractions. And they warned visitors not to hike in the affected area. That was nice of them to warn. Here's why. Danger of stepping through solid-looking soil into boiling hot water.
That's scary.
Yeah, really. Now, they said that the damage to this drive where the road melted is unusually severe. It could take several days to fix. Why? So it could melt again? Now let's look at Yellowstone. In the last 6 months, There's been a change in the geyser eruptions. The buffalo and elk have fled. There's been landslides and sinkholes as far away as Jackson Hole. There have been moderate earthquakes. There's been the building of the gas dome under the lake. The ground temperature is so high that it will melt your shoes. They found 2.5 times the amount of magma than they thought was there. And now these roads are buckling. Do you get a clue here about what's going on? I know I have listeners and viewers in the Yellowstone area in Montana and Wyoming. Get the heck out of there. You know, really, people. How much more warning do you want? You know? Now, let's go to the Middle East. Because we know that this ISIS that I've spoken about for weeks now are now destroying churches, shrines, and mosques in Iraq.
That's typical to destroy history.
Yes.
When things are changing.
Some of the holiest sites, and they are threatening Mecca. Yes, the self-proclaimed prophet who claims he's a direct descendant of Muhammad. He's already bulldozed some of the most sacred places in Iraq and will destroy anyone or anything that does not measure up to his vision of Islam. Interesting guy, right? He is now has appointed himself the leading prophet of the Muslim faith.
Do we have a name on this guy?
Yeah, his name is Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. Isn't that interesting?
Well, I reported on the red-haired Chechen guy last week.
Yeah.
This is a new guy now.
Well, this is the one from ISIS.
But
he sees himself as a last defender of Islamic civilization and wants to eradicate anything that is an enemy of Islam. Well, it's a good thing your ancestors had some Islam. We'll be safe if they ever come here. Okay. Now, the other thing here is that there are two sects of Islam, which I've mentioned before, the Sunni and the Shia, and they have been at odds with each other for over 1,400 years because of who they felt should have been Muhammad's successor. This guy, Baghdadi, is upsetting the leaders in Baghdad, of course, and the Iranians. And he says he wants to destroy the famed Kaaba in Mecca, which is a cube-shaped granite object in a marble building adorned with inscriptions and the footprints of Abraham. I didn't know that was in there. Because he said Islamic people should not be worshiping stones, and that they've lost touch with the true meaning of their faith. And he says that the people are going to Mecca to touch stones and not for God. And he expects to extend his caliphate in the Muslim empire to Jordan, Turkey, and Saudi Arabia. But some moderate or less extreme Muslims have stated it's not possible to have a caliphate anymore because the entire Muslim world is not united like it has been in the past, and there are different countries and different political orientations, so it's not going to work. But here's something interesting. This ISIS has destroyed Sunni mosques in the province of Nineveh, which is where, isn't that where Jonah was spit up by the whale?
I don't know.
Nineveh, something like that. And Christian churches in Syria he's also destroyed. But according to some experts, if ISIS does try to destroy the Kaaba or even go anywhere near Saudi Arabia, they will be met with, I quote, extraordinary opposition. Now, here's an interesting story before I turn it over to you. And, you know, I always talk about lion frequency and how the lion is so intelligent. Well, this kidnapped Ethiopian girl who's 12 years old. She was kidnapped by 7 men in Ethiopia because they wanted to marry her. And she tried to escape, and she was found by 3 lions who helped her and watched over her and chased her captors away. Isn't that interesting? And they were guarding her because she was going to be forced into marriage. According to the United Nations, now get this, in Ethiopia, 70% of the marriages are the result of similar kidnappings. That's like how we got married. I kidnapped you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now here's the other funny story. these animal people, experts, I love these experts, they say that lions may have heard her crying and mistaken her for a cub. Yeah, because she looks like one, right?
Well, we don't know,
Yeah, like the lions don't know a difference between a person and a lion.
Well, you know, it was interesting on Facebook the other day, there was a picture of a mother going after a child with a shoe, and the two dogs got in the way. They didn't hurt the mother, but they would not let her touch that child with the shoe. Every time she raised her hand, they eventually grabbed her hand in the mouth gently, but wouldn't let her.
That's a good thing. Yeah. But here's the interesting at the bottom line, which I agree with. It says, stories like this where animals behave in the noble, humane way we wish people would. And I agree. Well, because of all my trauma and stress this week, I didn't have a lot of time to get stories, so I'm leaving it up to you. Only Lord help us. Well,
I have great stories. Yeah. And even through my trauma and stress, I managed to get great stories. So I'm going to start off by asking you this question. Because
me or them?
You.
Yeah.
They can't talk to me unless they know you know something I know. Now, when your picture was here and you could transmute through me, that was
okay. Just go on.
Different. But as far as I know, they can't talk to me. So I have to ask you. So did you know that there is a $40 billion Nicaragua canal that's in the process of being planned that would be 3 times bigger than the Panama Canal?
Why? What's wrong with the Panama Canal?
Apparently it's not big enough. They want one bigger.
So there's canal envy.
Yes. Now what's interesting to me is that this is going to be, that is being worked on by a Hong Kong-based developer. So here we have China. And Russia is going to be providing the security for this.
Oh, good for the Russians.
So just south of the American border, we're going to have the Chinese.
And the Russians. Which we have anyway.
And you remember when we were at the Panama Canal, all the Chinese people that were there.
The bathrooms were in Chinese?
Yes.
I remember.
So anyway, it's just interesting now we have this. I don't have a date of when this is going to be started, but it's going to stretch 173 miles. That's 11 new beginnings across the Central American country.
Of Nicaragua.
Yes.
We know how dangerous that place is.
Yes. It's going to be connecting Punta Gorda on the Caribbean side to the mouth of the River Brito on the Pacific side.
Now, are the Panamanians okay with that, or are they upset?
They say that because there's so much traffic, it's not a big deal. There's enough for everybody. But I think that's interesting that they even find this a worthy project. They say it is going to be one of the largest projects, let's see, the biggest project built in the history of humanity.
Really?
That's what they claim. So that's pretty amazing.
I thought I was the biggest project in the history of humanity.
No, they just don't know you like I know you, and they would probably agree with that. Now, heading on to Russia. Apparently, there was a forgotten treaty that was signed by Bill Clinton, John Major, Boris Yeltsin, and Leonid Kuchma in 1994.
And they forgot about it.
That's what they're claiming. They're saying that the agreement says that the signatories promise to protect Ukraine's borders.
But they didn't say what the borders were.
Yes, Ukraine's borders. Ukrainian parliament has now reached out directly to all the countries who signed this treaty, and Putin currently has 150,000 troops on Ukraine's borders, and it is reported some have crossed into the country. President Obama says he's deeply concerned by the news, and the U.S. and Britain have both made crisis calls to President Putin to warn him to respect territorial boundaries. So it's interesting that they're bringing this forgotten treaty forward. So keep that in mind.
I'm not keeping that in mind. I think it's silly.
And there's some interesting Obama news. I try to stay away from him as much as I can.
Yeah.
But this one is about Rick Perry. Now, Rick Perry, as you know, is the governor of Texas. Yes, and apparently he claims, now this one you're going to find interesting especially, that the Obama administration is somehow coordinating the surge of immigrants coming over the border for some, quote, unknown reason.
Well, that's what we talked about last week.
Yes, which you've explained. Now, he's saying that. Perry recently suggested on Fox News that the Obama administration might be, quote, in on this somehow. But then he goes on, and this is a quote, "I have to believe that when you do not respond in any way, that you are either inept or you have some ulterior motive of which you are functioning from." He said that on ABC's this week on Sunday. So he did not elaborate on what Obama's ulterior motive might be, but he claims that that's happening. And he wants the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, to allow for drones to be used on the border. But you were telling us about bringing the children across in order to basically infiltrate us from other countries, and we become the other countries, just like happened in Finland, it's happening in Finland from the Russians. And
Tibet.
They do it everywhere. They let people in, and next thing you know, that's the country.
Yep.
And even, in fact, there were protesters, I think I mentioned this, down in Texas, New Mexico area, holding signs saying this is our homeland.
Right.
So.
And the best way to do it is to bring children, because the poor little children,
Right.
who are you going to send them back to? Who knows where their mommies and daddies are?
Right.
So we just have to keep them.
And they could have kidnapped them. You know, they did this to the Aborigines.
But here's the thing. This is not new. They make it sound like it's just happening. It's been going on for 40 years.
Yes, but what's interesting is Governor Perry now is actually bringing this out into the public and saying there is an agenda.
Because he wants to be president.
Well, but whoever's going to be president.
President Perry.
Whoever is going to be president has already been chosen, if ever. Now listen to this about Obama. This is also, again, a staged event. Remember, they do nothing that's not staged. He went to Denver, and that's, of course, where we all know the pot is now legal here in the U.S. So he's in Denver. He went to some carefully orchestrated event, blah, blah, blah. But after his meal, he decided to break from the script. Remember, this is the script. So he takes off on foot down the 15th Street with a cadre of anxious Secret Service agents by his side. And who do you know that he runs into but a man wearing a horse head mask? Now remember, I reported last week on Miley Cyrus and all the masks at her 4th of July party, and I have been continually for about the last year reporting on all these full plastic, rubber, or whatever they are. Was
it a man with a horse head mask, or was it Prince Charles?
They claim it was actually a man with
a
horse head mask.
I don't know how you could tell the difference.
That's what they said. Now here, this is also interesting to me. He said that he's showing his frustration with the restrictive White House security bubble, and guess what he's been referring himself to as?
I give up.
Quote, bear on the loose.
Really?
Now to me that
sounds like... That's an insult to bears.
I think that's a programming term because, of course, Russia, is known as the bear.
Brilliant. What have I said? Janae?
Go ahead.
That he's a KGB setup.
Right. So here we have him, bear on the loose. So to me, this is a lot of programming triggers in here. And I think there was one more. Yes, this was a good one. So then suppose, again, this is all impromptu. He heads up to a bar where he orders 2 rail yard ales.
The president?
That's what he claims. And then he goes for a game of pool. Now, Vanilla Ice, now again, this has to be mentioned in the article because this is part of the trigger. He's playing Ice, Ice, Baby. And ice is a programming term to go on ice, right?
It also is a term for the immigration something enforcement.
And it has a baby in it, which we're talking about the children. Now listen to this one. Obama sank the 8 ball. Okay, we've talked about this before, 8 being the oversold number. So Obama is sinking that. And then he turns around to the traveling press corps and says, did you record that? So we have a lot of programming triggers out there right now going on that people have to be especially mindful of.
It's another Obama drama.
Yes. Okay, now then this isn't one that a lot of people don't know, that their donated blood can actually be sold for profit.
Oh, good.
As much as $300 a pint of blood.
What if it has, I'm V positive.
Yes, so I don't think that's funny. Remember we've talked about that.
Right.
You're not supposed to make those jokes.
Okay.
Okay, but even expired blood can be sold at a reduced rate. Now,
mine is expired.
Most people, said 99% of Americans don't know their blood is sold, and blood banks are not allowed to pay donors, but then they can turn around and sell it. Now, somebody had also mentioned to me at one time, what do they do with all that blood? And this particular person said, I wonder if those people who drink blood are getting it from there. But you didn't hear that from me. And also, we knew somebody who worked in a hospital lab, and they said that the blood was actually sold to cosmetic companies at that time for lipstick and rouge and all other kinds of, as a color for, okay? And Google Glass. Now, there's a new app that's giving users telekinetic powers.
Ooh.
They have softwares that let you take photos and share them online using your thought only. It measures brain waves to translate brain activity into actions for the glasses, letting users picture and share images simply by concentrating.
Wow.
So yes, things are moving along. Then we have eye color surgery / tattoo, which is a new technology from France, where people can change their eye color, and it says anywhere from violet or pink eyes or whatever. Remember what I'm telling you, they're trying to merge people into animals, aliens. You won't know who and what you're talking to, robots, everything. So I thought this particular one was kind of interesting. The surgery, it says, only takes a few minutes. I don't like the sound of it. They scrape around your eye and they fill it with color. It says it doesn't affect your vision. It only takes a few minutes, but it is irreversible once you do it. So if you put pink eyes in, like when you're 20, and when you're 40, you might not want to have pink eyes anymore. You're done. That's it.
Maybe you can retouched up.
Maybe they'll use you for more experimentation.
You just put some white out in them.
That could happen. And did you know that the world's first dictionary of chimp gestures has been created by scientists in Scotland?
And they did that by observing the British, the English.
It says the researchers identified 15 meanings associated with 36 gestures. Now this I thought was odd, but again, I've been telling you, they're trying to take animals and give them human status, which India basically already did that with dolphins, remember? I reported on that some time ago. So they can't use them in their shows or entertainment or experiments because they have human status.
India did this? Except they let women get raped and burn people to death and that
They
kind
do
of
other things, but that's what I said. So, bit
but
by bit.
Dolphins are safe.
And chimps, apparently, since they now have a dictionary. But, they can do that with any animal.
That's maybe an advertisement for the Planet of the Apes movie that's coming out.
Could be, but anyway, I just think that there's more that's going to happen along this line, so we need to keep our eye on this type of story. Now, Halle Berry, the actress, stopped by The Late Show, of course, unexpectedly, to speak with David Letterman, and she was talking about her new show, which is called Extant. And she says that we may not be alone, quote, "I don't believe we are the only species in the universe," unquote. So again, more people that the icons are saying, there are aliens that are out there. So keep an eye. I have lots of things for you to keep an eye on this week. Headbanging. You know what headbanging is?
Yeah, that's when you push my head against the chair like you do sometimes.
But for the general people, it means, I guess, when you listen to heavy metal music, so you throw your head violently back and forth like this.
Like when you shake me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and if you jump up and down on a trampoline. So anyway, a man's brain began to bleed, and they're acting like this is a new thing. I think the headbanging is a trigger word, and that's why that they're bringing it forward, because you do that on trampolines, you do that even when you run and jog, there's the headbanging. So I think it's again another trigger word for you, so be sure you use that brown merger symbol. And here's another trigger word that keeps coming up: cannibalism.
Oh yes.
There was a lecturer, they do not give his or her name, on human origins at a university in England, who told Popular Science magazine that eating the entire body would probably supply you with 81,500 calories, or roughly 40 times the recommended daily value. And then they go on to say how many calories are in a leg and a heart, and it's like, why do we need to know this, and why would anybody do it?
Because did you ever eat English food? It's horrible.
But this is really, this is sick.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we have, which we've talked about, the programming where people see clowns. That's been reported, to us from
IS programming.
Yes. Okay. Well, IS, we have insane. Isn't that interesting? Insane. IS programming. The insane clown posse again is in the news. It doesn't disappear. It keeps popping up because of that IS programming. In my opinion, they're trying to keep the public imprinted. So apparently, the group is known as Juggalos. They claim they've been targeted by police because they have jewelry or tattoos.
Heard of them.
Yes, of course. With the group symbol.
Once.
The group symbol is a man running with a hatchet. The American Civil Liberties Union of Michigan filed a lawsuit on behalf of the Juggalos and the group, claiming their constitutional rights to free speech and due process were violated by the report. Now, the FBI labels the Juggalos, quote, as a loosely organized hybrid gang. And it also says that they have committed assaults and vandalism, and a small number have engaged in more serious crimes, so therefore they're going to continue to watch this particular group.
I think I wrote about them once a few years ago.
It's possible. They've been popping up in and out, and that's what I said, they're not going away. And so if they have a lawsuit and they show people dressed up in clown faces, again, it's a way to continue to re-imprint the public. They're not letting that IS programming drop.
No.
Okay. Bill Gates, back in the news, obviously, yes. Well, I had the occasion to interact with him, we'll say.
Yeah, I bet you interacted with him.
He now is backing birth control. Apparently last month the Gates Foundation awarded a $100,000 grant to the, get this one, you'll love this one, to the University of Wollongong in Australia to create a condom that allows for more sensation. And that's only one of 11 different condom projects that the foundation backed. And now they're backing birth control for females with a wireless on-off switch, which will last up to 16 years.
What does that mean?
That means that they'll implant it. They didn't say where. In the female, it apparently controls your hormones. And then with a flip of a switch, you can turn this hormone thing on and off. So if you want to get pregnant, I guess you flip it off. And so then you get pregnant and you can flip it back on again. But listen to this. They gave $4.6 million for this.
You know, all they had to do was make a mask of Bill Gates. That's birth control right there.
Like one of those horse head things.
I mean, he is fugly.
We don't want to be saying things about people.
No, he doesn't say nice things about me either.
Well, you're just jealous because I interacted with him.
He's so jealous of me.
No,
it's
you're jealous of me, of him,
because
did
he give you that
he
shawl?
interacted.
You told me that shawl was before I knew you.
He interacted with me. That's all
Yeah,
I'm
did he
saying.
interact with that shawl?
That's all I'm saying, but I want you to
Yeah,
listen to
that's
this
all you're
one.
saying.
This again to me has to do with
I'm going to tell you who I interacted
taking.
with.
Oh, I already know, dear. So does the
That's
world.
true. That's true.
So that's not a good comment to make.
Okay, go on.
Anyway. I remember I'm telling you that they're taking away the rights of the American people step by step. Well, here is a 17-year-old boy. I'm not sure how old, or young man, but here they call him a boy. Because in the U.S., he's not legally an adult until he's 18. So a 17-year-old boy, a teenager, somehow or another at some point sent pictures of his erect penis
I heard about that.
to his girlfriend when she was 15. So he's now in court. And apparently prosecutors wanted to medically induce an erection in the 17-year-old.
Yeah, they didn't have to medically induce it.
So they could compare it with, but it's about taking away your rights. It's about strapping you down and doing things to you that should not be done. So they wanted to compare it with the photos that the teen allegedly sent to his then 15-year-old girlfriend. And because of this texting thing, sexting is what they're calling it, he's also charged with producing and distributing child pornography.
Oh, for goodness sake.
So they've now withdrawn that. They said they won't have to do it. But again, in my opinion, because there was a lot of outbursts from the public. But these are things that are coming down the pike. Last week we reported on the DUIs how they could take your blood without consent. Now they're saying they can do this to you. So the rights of the American people, step by step, are being taken away.
Yeah, but all the pornographic advertisement on the internet and everywhere else, that's okay.
Well, because if you say it's okay, it's okay. But if they strap you down and try and do things to you, then it's not okay. So all that's happening. Now we have LG, I don't know how to say this one, it looks made up, Kizon or Kizon wristband, which uses GPS to help parents track their kids. This is for little ones in preschool and primary school. It's got GPS and Wi-Fi data, starts July 10 in South Korea, and then it's planned to arrive in North America and Europe. So apparently you put these on your kids' arms and you can keep track of them. To me, okay, the people aren't lining up for the chips to be implanted. So what are they doing now? They're giving them this thing to put on their wrist, right?
Wristband.
A wristband. This is the first start. If one thing doesn't work, they back up and then they attack it from another thing. So again, and they're going to do it for the little kids, so the little kids won't know any different. So by the time they get older, they go, oh, I had a wristband, let's just put in a microchip. That'll be easier. And remember also, I keep telling you, I talked to you about the teen with the penis thing. I told you the male stuff.
That's such an unusual story for you.
After the stuff with all the female private parts, which I've been talking about that for the last couple of years, I said the next will be the males. And which we've been seeing that consistently happen, just like I said. Now we have a Canadian group. Now get this one. This is a Canadian group called Testicular Cancer Canada.
That sounds like a really nice name of a group.
Why? Okay, now what they're doing is they made a video showing men, just their face, while they're getting below the belt waxing for cancer awareness.
How is that going to make you aware of it?
This is why I say it's ridiculous, but they're doing things, they have certain terms they want to get out, they have certain things that they want you to get used to.
Wait. What are they waxing?
Well, apparently they're testiculars.
Oh my God. Well, they're Canadian.
So they show them smiling while the wax is being applied.
That's why Canada does not have a big population.
And then screaming, and writhing in agony while they're ripping the hairs out.
All right, stop it.
But again, you know, this is to make you aware of testicular cancer. I told you.
How is that going to make me aware of anything except stupidity?
Well, I told you this is what they're doing because they have to bring certain words and so on. And I said once they got the females taken care of, they would start working on the men. So, and they are.
Oh my
literally.
Goodness. Oh, Canada.
Okay, last week we had a discussion on transgender. Now the one thing that I didn't bring up at that time, which I want to be sure and bring up, is the trans part, which we talked about before. Trans. So there are a lot of these trans things. Transhumanism, trans this, trans that.
Sometimes I'm in the trans.
And we weren't sure what the difference was between transgender and transsexual. So I found a dictionary and looked it up.
How brilliant of you.
Yes, and a transsexual is an older term for people whose gender identity is different from theirs assigned at birth, so on and so forth.
So it's the same thing.
Many do not prefer this term because it is thought to sound overly clinical. So they're apparently changing it now to transgender.
I see.
So I wanted to be sure and be politically correct as best as we can be and stay up with the times.
Yeah, I'm not politically correct.
But there is a transgender dictionary and terminology, and the link will be posted for those of you who want to read about more of it.
Or wax their private parts.
Yeah, you can do that later.
Yeah.
In your spare time. We'll take pictures of you screaming in agony as you pull the wax off.
Well, that's what you always do to me.
Well, that's what
and
you
you
like.
use hot wax.
That's what you like.
It was not nice of you.
That's what you like. What can I say?
No, that's why I have no pants on now. Because it hurts.
Yeah, because it's bright red down there.
Yeah.
Okay, is sugar a poison?
Yes.
You reported on this, I think a couple of years ago. Again, it's not going away. The FDA wants a warning label because Robert Lustig, who's a pediatric endocrinologist and leading expert in childhood obesity at the University of California, San Francisco, says sugar is to blame for obesity and chronic disease in the U.S.
Oh, you think?
He says it's not about the calories. It has nothing to do with the calories. It is a poison.
Yes.
And so many things come under the label of that. Okay, we have dextrin, corn syrup, fructose are just a few examples of added sugar, which aren't really
So they're
labeled.
just going to change the name and put it back in there?
Probably.
Anyway.
So again, I don't know where they're going with this, but because again it's not going away, it'd be interesting just to follow this story. Now we also have, speaking of waxing testicular parts, we have a monokini. This is for women who've had the breast removed. And they want to go out with their regular breast covered, but because they don't have a breast, they want to be able to show that.
Because?
They don't really say, but they said people have different ideas of beauty. Personally, I think it has to do again with imprinting people with the androgyny. So it's half male, half female. You know, a breast, no breast. I think there's just lots of weird things going on.
I think these people need a smackdown is what I think.
Now, I have a special story for you, and I don't know if you want that story first or the funniest story that I found in a long time ago.
Well, I'm going to make them both funny, so it doesn't matter.
Okay, so we'll start with the first one, which I think is hilarious.
Well,
this is about a DUI suspect. It didn't say the state, but it's Oconee County.
who?
Oconee, O-C-O-N-E-E.
Let me see.
No, because then you'll see my stuff.
Oh.
It's county, so anybody knows where that is. I didn't look it up. Sheriff's office, it responded to a grocery store because there was a dog locked in a car. So apparently the temperature outside was 99 degrees.
Oh, so we know it's down south.
The temperature in the car measured by the handheld thermometer was 123 degrees. And there was a can of gasoline in the car.
Brilliant. That has to be from, like, southern people.
Okay, so listen to this. So anyway, according to the police, then they were starting to get the dog out of the car when its owner, who appeared highly intoxicated, returned to the car. And
Definitely southern.
And they said, why is your dog in this hot car? And he told them it was because the dog drove him to the grocery store to buy some corn.
Well, tarnation.
So that's why the dog was in the car.
Makes sense to me.
Wesley Mark Terrell was the man's name.
Bubba.
So he was arrested and charged with animal cruelty as well as DUI. I thought that was so hilarious.
Brilliant.
That the dog drove him to the store. That's why the dog was in the car.
And that's why the South lost the Civil War.
Okay, now then, here's the story for you.
Okay.
Dating Naked.
Woohoo!
This is the name of a new series, and there's a trailer on there, which I actually watched it, and actually the idea, I know what happens with people's minds, but when you shed your clothing, you really do shed your inhibitions.
So you think it's okay?
I'm telling you that there are two sides of the coin.
So if we wanted to have a naked conference, that's because that'll open everybody up.
No, that has nothing to do with what I want from me or you or what is correct and appropriate for our particular group of people. However, when people shed their clothing, they do shed their inhibitions.
Yeah,
yes.
Especially when they're with Bubba who's been drinking.
Yeah, and the dog, the driving dog. So anyway, but they have 3 days apparently on this island where they all take off all their clothes. They get to know each other as people in every sense of the word. But you have to remember, think of the tropics. The tropics is a different culture than we are. So different cultures do behave in different ways. So
but these are Americans.
Are they?
I would think so.
It doesn't exactly say.
They'd be stupid enough to do it.
Anyway, I just thought it was an interesting show because they're going to have naked dining, naked swimming, naked horseback riding, naked...
Yeah, my kind of place. Can we sign up?
Yeah, you can go for it, not me.
I think you should go.
You want to date people?
I just think show them that I'm open to all of these ideas.
Yeah, no, I think that you would time to close down some of those ideas. So anyway.
I can show them my new wax.
Well, if you have your half man thong.
Well, I don't need that, do I?
Or your own monokini.
I won't need it, will I? If it's nude dating.
No, I guess. You could start out with that because you have to take your clothes off. You could just show up in your, mankini it's called. The mankini or the man half thong. You could have on the mankini with that man half thong under it. So as a special surprise to them, as you peel off your mankini.
I think you should peel off your
underneath,
this
you would
right
have
now.
your man half thong as a special surprise for them.
I think you should show the viewers what's underneath your thing.
You show them what's underneath your thing.
I can't take that off. You'll hurt me.
I would. So now it's your turn. I had the best stories.
That I gave you, but that's another.
Well,
that's another story.
No, you steal my story.
Steal anything from you, except you stole my heart. Okay,
Is that why I had
back to earth, back to earth. Now, we have to tell them about what's coming up. Oh! Especially when you ain't got pants on, right, Bubba?
Your mankini and your half thong.
I'll get them pester buggers out. Oh, time for the 4 o'clock tornado.
Okay, in August.
What?
We have a special communication seminar, color, tone, and archetype.
Yeah, because we're so good at communication.
So I want you to learn, of course, from the experts, which of course are Stewart and I.
And it will be nude, because it's summertime.
It will be nude, N-E-W.
Even though it'll be a polar vortex in the summer, it'll be nude.
N-E-W, nude. It will be new to you, nude. So be sure and sign up. We have just 2 or 3 spaces left. We keep this, usually the August one is a smaller event, which is nice. You get a lot of personal attention in the correct way. And
if I'm there.
Yeah. So anyway, but it's going to be a great one on communication because that affects how you get along in your life, your inner communication, your outer communication, your relationships, your jobs, your co-workers, your peers, your spiritual communication, your oversoul, God mind, the whole shebang.
Yeah. Now what happens in September?
You tell me.
I'll be in Iceland and Poland, and I'll be doing seminars, workshops, consultations.
We'll have details posted soon on the site for that.
Yes, and then October is?
Our Everything, Oversoul, and the Alien Agenda.
And the Alien Agenda is for all humans to be nude.
N-E-W.
Because, you know,
maybe it's renewed.
Most of the aliens are nude.
Renewed. R-E-N-E-W-E-D. Renewed.
Yeah. But, should I tell them about this?
Well, if you think that...
Yeah, because I just got a call the other day from the producer.
That was yesterday.
Was that yesterday?
Yes.
Oh. No, it was 2 days ago.
It was yesterday.
Well, whatever it was, from the producer of the Montauk Chronicles movie.
Christopher Garetano.
Garetano, whose birthday is our anniversary, actually. So we have that in common. And he said to me, the movie will be ready in 1 week. And to be prepared for media blitz. And to be nude when that happens.
I still think you should have the mankini at the half thumb underneath.
Yes, and
the make movie, you more photogenic.
He has redone the movie. This is like the 3rd version, I think. And he said it's centered around my life. And he said there were a lot of film companies and producers were extremely interested in it. And he's, you know, he didn't say this, but I kind of got the impression that Academy Award was involved.
Well, you know what? I think people need to come to the seminars while you still will talk to people, because once this thing goes viral, you may not speak to anybody anymore.
You know, because I cannot deal with the little people after that.
I know you.
You know, and so I'm just telling you people, you better come soon, because
who knows?
You know, I'll be out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff going on.
Yeah, so that's really all I had.
That's it?
Yeah, I didn't have a lot because I was so traumatized this week.
Yeah, it cannot compare to the wonderful news that I shared.
Yeah.
I shared fabulous news.
With your genital stories and all of that, which were fascinating to everybody, I'm sure.
Especially you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so.
Yeah. So, I guess, we did tell them this is actually the middle of July 2014. Did we say that in the beginning?
You did not. That's your job.
No, it's because I let you speak and you did not handle it correctly.
I only give my name.
Which is why I do the opening.
I only give my name. That's it. That's the only information I reveal.
Yeah, well, I wish you'd reveal the other stuff that you had underneath your shawl there, because, you know, people, you know, I have never seen this before. We're married almost 20 years now. And she said, oh, I've had this before. I got married. She's like, really? Where'd you get it? I've never seen in 20 years. I've not seen that.
There's a lot of things you haven't seen that I have.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Like what else?
I have a lot of secrets.
Seriously?
Yes, I'm very mysterious.
Okay, I want you all to write in about what secrets you would like Janet to reveal to you about her prior life. Mm-hmm. And if you do, and you come in August and October, I will have a surprise for you myself.
But you know you don't have to do that with Stewart, because he reveals all his secrets.
I just can't help it. I like to, you know.
Loose lips sink ships.
Yeah, yeah. What kind of loose lips?
Loose lips sink ships.
Anyway, I'm not even going to go there. So, till next time, hopefully we'll be back.
Hopefully you'll be back. I will be back.
I don't know if they can censor us anyway.
I don't know if they can either.
I don't think so. They try, but they can't.
Yeah.
Right. So I'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.